Well, rising family, much love to you all. We are back once again on another beautiful, wonderful day. Life is being fulfilled and life is going forth. How are you going? Well, to touch base with you all today, we're going to talk on some instructional things, give you all some pointers on how to embrace more of that hidden side of the self so we can allow that intuition from the other side to go ahead and creep in so that we can live our true, authentic expression of life. So for this video, is dealing with the ego. And dealing with the ego, dealing with it in a very simplistic kind of way. I'm going to give you 8 different ways to help dilute your ego so that you won't be so caught up in yourself and you will allow your spirit and your soul to continue to push you forward. So just get right into it. So for the first one, talking about defining your motivation. So to help keep the ego in check, it's important that you define your motivation for whatever it is that you're doing, because you have to have a vision and you have to have a goal. In order to have a vision on a goal, in order to put that into place, you actually have to tap into that hidden part of yourself. You have to be able to visualize a future that isn't currently present. You have to be able to put yourself in a position to where you can see yourself now, but you could also see yourself in the future. And the way that you can do that is through sitting down and going through the visualization process, is going through and picturing out how you want to live your life, is going through the process of methodically planning out step by step as much as you can how you were going to get where you were going. Doing so is beneficial for us because setting that plan, setting that vision, writing it down, it simply can act as a roadmap so we can go ahead and continue to push forward. Because the ego and how it operates, it can be a very confusing device within us because the ego simply wants its needs met in an almost immediate fashion. So let's just say you start your plan and you had your plan. If you haven't really given yourself a strong vision to remind yourself of what you're doing, a strong vision to really ground yourself in whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, when things do get a little sketch, your ego will tap in and will tell you to stop. It will influence you to back out. It will raise up that fear mechanism because the ego is simply trying to protect itself. So in order to allow the ego to be silenced, you have to lean harder on the vision and know that your vision is more real in the future than your ego is in the present. And in doing so, it also helps your stress level. It'll bring it down some. The second thing, focus on the process. Similarly here, with the same vision, you have to switch your focus away from your current situation into what the process is. No matter what you want to accomplish, whether it be entrepreneurial or whether it be educational, relational, whatever, there is always a process. You don't just go from not knowing something to immediately knowing it and being able to function. You have to go through some education, go through some practice, go through some mistakes, go through some basically real life situations to where you actually gain the experience needed so that you can hold the energy, so that you can continue to move forward, so that you can go on with whatever it is that you're trying to do. And so you have to make your focus the process, because everything else around you in your life is still not going to go away. Your bills still need to get paid. If you got kids, they still need to eat. If you got a lover, you still got to tend to them. So those things can be, for lack of a better term, a distraction. And so to make sure that these things are appropriately kept in their correct space, it is paramount that we make our focus the process. So whatever it is we're working on, it needs to become secondary, appropriately so, to the larger process where we are getting something done for our life. Going on, the third thing is to not compare ourselves to others. This is very, very important. Just as I said earlier, the ego has a way of actually forcing us to fall into the trap of not keeping faith, or not keeping, that same energy, keeping that same energy when we try to do things, because it gets scared and it gets fearful. When we go through the process of not comparing ourselves to others, we greatly reduce the need to be afraid, or greatly reduce the need to look at our plans as not going through. We greatly reduce our the false illusion, that we're going to fail. And we do so because when we start to look around in our situation, look at others, and we see they may be more successful, or we see they may have done it faster, or we see that they are way further along in their own process, we will make the mistake of, tapping into that woe is me, that, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough, or, oh, what am I doing wrong? And you're busy switch your focus from your dream, switch your focus from your vision, and then put your energy into somebody else's life. And in the process of doing so, you fizzle out all of the intensity and all of the spiritual power that you had been building up, and all of it gets reduced back into the fleshly ego. So again, do not put yourself in a place where you compare yourself to others. And this works actually for relationships. It works for your jobs. It works for your dreams. All of it. This isn't just a one-dimensional, thing. This is for every area of our life. If you're in a situation that seems a little odd or a little stretching or a little difficult, the best thing you can focus on is yourself and your energy, and making sure that you are staying grounded in it, so that you can know if whatever it is you're dealing with, you can and will persist in, or if it is truly not for you. But you have to be grounded in that first. And of course, not looking at other folks will help you stay in that space. Number 4. Leaving behind tradition. This one is generally a hard one, especially in the time that we're in this 2020. We have this whole thing about religion and the Jesus aspect, and the whole spiritual community, and it does create seemingly more division than it does bringing folks together. I mean, that is what it is here or there. But the biggest thing about not focusing on tradition, again, is the focusing on tradition in every area of life. This ain't just about a religious thing. This isn't just about a church type of situation here. When we talk about leaving behind tradition, there's a tradition behind every single thing that we currently have in place. Whatever you think is a normative or normal activity, that actually came into existence in a shorter amount of time than you probably think it is. Whatever you know as normal is actually not normal. It's a temporary normal based on whatever cultural climate and condition that you were currently birthed in or living through. 200 years from now, whatever was normal ain't gonna be normal no more, and vice versa. So this whole thing of hanging on to a tradition, allowing that to fuel and to run your life, it can be beneficial, because there are certain people who do live by those things, and it brings them joy, it brings them purpose, it brings them identity. But for everyone ain't the same. So everyone doesn't need to ascribe, to a tradition or a group, or an ideology. People can truly entertain what is going on inside of them authentically and allow that true expression to be exhumed. One of the reasons, too, you want to stay away from tradition as much as you can with the ego is because tradition does give people, I did say that identity piece, it can also give people a false sense of identity, a false sense of security, a false sense of authority. Essentially, certain people may have no authority in the world, no power, no money, no presence. But when they step into their traditional environment, they the man, they the woman, they the head person in charge. And so a lot of people can mistakenly use their traditional setting, where they can rely on all of the norms that they have been present in to help reduce their own fears and their own lack of ability to make themselves great in the world. And they will simply lean upon whatever traditional structure they are in, raise themselves up inside of that community, and still do no real work towards progressing their soul, progressing the spirit, and, as we say, diluting the ego. The same thing, dealing with a relationship. Not everybody wants to be married. Not everybody in a situation. Not everyone wants to be in a situation where they're strictly monogamous and things of that nature. So you have to be able to acquiesce if your direction of life is going to be different than what is quote unquote normal. And tapping into yourself is how you get into that space to realize if you are going to operate in a normal capacity or traditional capacity, or if you're going to operate a little more loose. Whichever you choose to do, as long as it's authentic to the higher part of yourself, that hidden part of yourself, it makes no difference. You simply go do that. Number 5, having habitual silence. One of my favorites. As you know, of course, this page is called We Meditate. But I do a whole lot more talking than meditating on my page. That's intentional. For, of course, my library is concerned, I cover a whole different myriad of topics. Um, but in covering all of those topics, the central focus is for all of us to meditate upon whatever is spoken about. Because whatever we end up learning or entertaining, whether it be something spiritual, whether it be something mechanical, like just learning math, you have to take the time to sit down and think upon it. Sit down and focus on it. Sit down and meditate on it. Allow whatever you're learning to get down into your mind and into your body so that it becomes normal and you can function with it. So in the process of doing so, to help aid that process, meditation in silence, habitual, is good. And this is, yes, of course, a spiritual practice, but it's also good for the body. When you take time to habitually meditate and calm your mind, you literally put your mind at ease, put your mind at rest. Whatever stresses that you have, they calm down and they become less intense. Whatever you were worried about, it can become less of a worry. All of the things that trigger stress and raise up your cholesterol, all of those things could potentially get lowered if you allow yourself to habitually go into a silent space, habitually quiet that ego sound that continues to talk all throughout the day, just reaching for everything. When you habitually put yourself in a space to silence your mind, silence your body, silence the part of yourself that's just always going, always talking, always acting, you can again raise up that spiritual side of yourself and help dilute the ferocity of your ego. Next, practicing forgiveness. This whole forgiveness piece, man, it's so funny, especially again in the time that we're in. In the divide, quote unquote, the divide in the spiritual community and the religious community. This whole forgiveness piece is an issue. Woo, buddy. It seems like forgiveness is basically selective. People can forgive in a smaller notion, but people can't forgive in like a larger scale when it comes to society and racism and things of that nature. Certain things are quote unquote unforgivable, if we want to say that. But for a practical, very practical day-to-day interacting with your coworkers, your family, your lovers, all of that sorts of thing, forgiveness is paramount. And the reason why forgiveness is paramount is because one of those old cliches. Forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about yourself. Your ego and its frailty, again, it's designed to try to protect yourself. Really, of course, protect yourself, but it's really designed to protect itself through the vehicle of your body. And so, of course, the ego will do whatever it can, as previously stated, to make sure that the ego side of itself is getting fulfilled, is getting fed, is getting built up. And so that ego side of yourself, it's a vengeful person. It's a vengeful energy within you. So if someone were to betray you, or at least you think is a betrayal, if someone was supposed to give you a slight, or what you think is a slight, your ego is going to do everything it can to put yourself in a position of revenge, or put yourself in a position of victimhood, or a position of hurt, or some form of a position to where you carry some energy that you don't have to carry, and will basically saddle you down until you do something about it, until you go forth and act out of character, until you go do something that might put you in a harder position than what you were before. It might mess up your reputation. It might mess up your relationship. It might mess up anything. That is, again, a product of the lack of forgiveness, because we are hanging on to things and our ego wants to go ahead and get it off. If we simply just let some certain things go, we save ourselves the drama. We save ourselves the issue. We save ourselves the problem. We save ourselves wasting time worrying about how we're going to get back at whomever. We save ourselves the time of thinking upon what another person did and why they did it and how they did it and what was their motivation. See how, again, it taps back into number 3, don't compare yourself to others. This same thing brings you into a comparison. You start to look at a person who may have wronged you, and then you see your own self and you say, well, I would not have acted like that. And because you were saying I would not have acted like that, you are now ascribing your own personhood, your own reality onto somebody else's who don't act like you. And so now you are wrestling with your own angst and your own problems because you want somebody else to be you, and they're never going to be it. So practicing this forgiveness helps take your attention away from these huge issues. It helps take your attention away from Worrying about things that are essentially out of your control as it relates to a whole nother person. You could freely move forward with your life and be unaffected for if they come around, if they try to trigger you, if they try to do anything to you, you can maintain your power and not be taken out of it. Number 7, stop boasting. Of course, we live in a social media age, so boasting is almost necessary if anyone's trying to get some exposure. But beyond the whole marketing and exposure aspect, we have to realize that boasting can really mess us up. There's a lot of times where we learn something and we get 15 minutes good with it, and then we already trying to teach a class, or we're trying to, be all on social media and talking, talking at people from this position of our mastery, and we know this and we know that. We have to calm that down. Part of the reason why we have to calm that down is because, again, that is the ego. That is the ego looking for a way to pound its chest, to say, I did it, I got it, I'm the man, I'm the woman, hear me roar. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, because you are your own person and you do want your own identity, to have power. But boasting doesn't actually represent power. Boasting is actually a sense of insecurity. If you know that you are in a self-actualized place, if you know you got, $1 million in the bank, if you know you've got XYZ accomplished and secured, what is the reason why you have to tell everybody that you have secured it? You simply live out that existence from that place of security. If you live out that way, people will be able to see whatever you're trying to show them. And you don't have to do any extra boasting, any extra verbiage, any extra showboating. You simply just move forward. And also in doing so, you actually make yourself less of a target. I'll give a pop culture reference very recently. There's a rapper who died that hurt everybody, and it was all like, oh my God. His name was Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke was a young dude. He was a, nice guy. Wasn't no thug, wasn't no criminal, nothing like that. But his particular lifestyle was very boasty. Once he made it to, the rap scene and making millions of dollars or whatever, he showed everybody about what he was on. And it wasn't too long before somebody came and got him and took his life. And it was already, and it's looked up and written. You can look it up and Google it. A part of the reason why he was found and killed was because he was flashing too much, having hundreds of thousands of dollars on him in a video, millions of dollars worth of jewelry on him in a video, broadcasting where he lived, telling people to run up type of stuff. And guess what? They ran up. So don't make yourself a target by being boastful. Just sit on your money, sit on your accomplishment, keep moving forward. It's not going to make any difference if they know it or not. The fact that you know it is all that matters. So boasting can save you some ego and save you some potential drama. And lastly, number 8, surrender. Surrender your aspect of control. This part is most likely the biggest part, and this is the part that that stumbles up virtually everyone. This surrender aspect is so complicated because when we have our life and we have our ego and we have our personhood, we want to try to do anything, but in the process of wanting to try to do anything, we want to make sure that it's ours. We want to make sure that we've secured it. We want to make sure that whatever we're doing is growing and manifesting and making things happen. However, in the process of doing so, we can overlord our own accomplishment, and we can what's another way of saying this? We can suffocate them. We can suffocate them out. Think about it like a lover let's think about a lover, for example. You got your partner, y'all doing your whole thing, but you may not like how your partner dresses. They may, like if you're a dude and she got a whole closet full of like short skirts, and you all mad and pissy about her short skirts. Your control aspect can short circuit that whole relationship. The woman that you may be with, she for you, she with you, she only wants you, she only wants your attention, all of that lovely, rigmarole. But because you so caught up in taking control over what she looks like, you was undermining all of the great feelings, all of the great experiences, all of the great intention and heartfelt expression that she has for you, because you want to run not only the relationship, you want to run how she even looks. So you're zapping the power out of her, which in turn will zap power out of you because you were taking control over something that isn't even yours. Another really good aspect, or example, is our business endeavors. There's a lot of times when we have a business that's fledgling and is starting to grow, When we're in that fledgling phase, we put so much effort, so much energy, so much focus on trying to make sure, we get, whatever that is off the ground, whatever that is, up and running. We didn't spend all these hours, we didn't spend all this money, we've been up in the middle of the night, all of that type of stuff. Doing all of those things can make the ego jump in and latch onto it like it's mine. This is mine. And in the process of doing so, you might hurt your business because let's just say, you opened up a burger joint, right? And you put all this effort in for the burger joint. You've had this vision your whole time that you was gonna make these exquisite burgers and I'm gonna have the best burger joint in town, right? And you go through, a whole year and a half of struggling and marketing and doing all of this effort, recipes, mastering it all down. And in your process of doing so, you expand your menu. So let's say you got 6 burgers on your menu. But then just to make sure you got nice little options so people can eat, so you can diversify, make sure everything's good to go, you add on a chicken sandwich, right? So you're like, the chicken sandwich, that's just something on there, but I'm a burger maker, right? But just so happen, you make this chicken sandwich and all of a sudden, everybody wants the chicken sandwich instead. All the customers are coming in for the chicken sandwich. Everybody wants, I heard about the chicken sandwich. Let me get 2 of them. This is an example of how we can mess up and get mad at our own success because we wanted our only way. We can be upset that nobody wants to eat our burgers and solely focused on the fact that nobody wants to eat our burgers, that we will mess up the business endeavor to see that everybody wants the chicken. Everybody wants to eat what you've already made, and it's just by a matter of happenstance that this thing has taken life, this thing has taken power, that this thing is got all of the energy swelled in it, and this thing is going to carry you to the next level. But because you're stuck on yourself, you're stuck on the ego part of how much effort you had to put in to put something together, you have now messed up and potentially undermined your business, undermine how much wealth you can generate. So think about that and think about where you may be hanging on in your own life. Think about all of those things. Really take an assessment of your personal relationships, your job, your business if you have one, whatever it is you're working on, that vacation you taking, that you're saving up for. Are any of those things you're doing a part of an egotistical response? A showboaty, I want to tell people, look at me, I'm great. Are the things you're doing a part of just the journey of life, and you're going through your experience and you're going through your soul expression so it can fully unfold? So in closing, I'll read through it again. Make sure you define your motivation, secure your vision, focus on the process and enjoy the process. It won't always go your way, but it will always lead you where you need to go. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't leave behind tradition. Have habitual silence and meditation. Practice forgiveness. Stop boasting. And lastly, surrender to the process. Methodical ways to ease the ego. This is your reminder to self. I am Ahmad Pharaoh Brown. This is We Meditate. Wholeness.